So maybe you've been vlogging with your cell phone for a while, and you got the little setup here, and it's all fun and games, until someone comes around the corner with the full setup. It's not the cell phone. And you just kind of, whatever. What is up, guys? Luke from Luke Learns. Today we're actually going to talk about some settings for your new camera. Congratulations if you got a camera. Congratulations if your name is Seth. I'm going to do it all on this Lumix GX85. All the Lumix cameras basically have the same menu. It's going to be a little different, but the ones that you need to know, the settings that you need to know, will be in this camera. So let's get to it. Alright, so as a brand new beginner, you're going to grab your camera, and if you really just want to do it like the easiest, ultimately like no thought involved automatic settings, the Panasonic cameras have IA, which is basically like it's artificial intelligence. It'll do aperture, shutter speed, everything automatically. The only problem with that is your aperture is going to like click. Basically, like if you go into a darker area, the whole screen will get lighter as it corrects itself to do the best shot. So it's just like something to be aware of. Also, any Panasonic camera, the autofocus will hunt sometimes. So like it's not the fastest and it will hunt. Just something you need to know. Nothing like you can't get around. And as a beginner, honestly, like it's not gonna matter until you get a lot better at what you do. So that being said, freaking love these cameras. The picture quality is amazing, 4K, all that. Okay, so you can switch the camera to IA, which is artificial intelligence. Like day one, I suggest maybe doing that just to get a feel for the camera, just to see how it focuses, how it does everything automatically. So day one, I would just switch it to IA, just because it'll help you get a feel for your camera without like ruining like all your shots with that learning curve. Just get a feel for your camera, switch it to IA, and you're set. So that being said, the settings I personally like using is exposure mode to manual, and that's in your menu. So basically that's just going to let you change aperture and shutter speed at will. Shutter speed you don't really need to do at will, but it does help to have it accessible through your dials. Next, I would actually say record quality is like, that's up to you. So if you want to shoot in 4K 24 frames per second or 4K 30, like you can just choose whichever one you like. This video is actually in 1080-30, which is most of my stuff. It's still going to be super crispy, going to be fine. 4K 24 downscaled in post-production to 1080, and I know that might blow your mind. Basically, you're just going to make the sequence at 1080 quality. You're going to plug that 4K footage in. It's going to look way expanded and up close. You just scale it down, shrink it to the size of the screen you're using, and you're going to be set. So like, if that made sense to you, I hope it did. All the Lumix cameras, they have the dial that has a little camera on it. That's the setting I use. Basically, you can't take pictures in that mode. That also helps you not to take a picture when you think you're recording, and as a beginner you may do that. So switch it to the little camera on the knob, and you'll be able to just like know that you're using for film. So I think most of them or all of them have a little red button on top, and then your shutter button for like taking photos that you'd be used to using. Either one will start the recording process. So that little button there will help you focus if you need to, if you're in manual. So I like to set my focus mode to AFS. Basically, it's not gonna like hunt around for what you're focusing on. You can do other settings. I just personally use autofocus single because I have pressed my shutter button and I can know that that's what the area is gonna be in focus. That was bad. Focus mode, autofocus single, it's just they're going to point and shoot. Focus mode, you want to switch it to autofocus single, AFS. It basically just lets you pick one area on the camera, focus on that, and that's where it holds focus. If you're vlogging, that's good because you're out here, you're filming your face, and you're going to have a flippy screen on your cameras probably. You basically touch your face and then half press that button, and it stays in that focus realm while you're doing your video. It just makes it a lot easier. As far as aperture and shutter speed, I want to say like that's just going to depend on how you want your shot to come. Shutter speed, and you'll be able to adjust it in the manual. It's basically like you want to just do double of whatever frame rate you're using. So like if you did 24 frames, double that would be 48. This camera will set it to 50. So that's how you're going to do that. If you're shooting in 30 frames or 60 frames per second, you double it for your shutter speed. Just general rule of thumb, that works perfectly. As far as aperture goes, that's how bright it is outside. So like if you're outdoors, your aperture is going to be wide open. So it's going to be like, if you have a kit lens, it's probably going to be like 3.5. Drop it down to 3.5. It's going to let the most amount of light in the camera. As far as like a darker scene, you're going to have to raise it. The other thing with that is you have ISO. So ISO is also going to help you in bright or low light situations. Just remember that when you raise the ISO, the picture gets grainier. So it's just like at 800, these cameras start to like lose some of their definition. And I would just say like keep it at 200 if you can. If the light allows it, keep it at 200, and it's so good. If you're out at night, you're gonna have to raise it. It's just how it is, and maybe get some glass that's a little better. I honestly don't have any problem with it. Like if you're in the city, that there's going to be enough light from like street lamps and stuff that it's really not going to make too much of a difference. It's just know your camera a little bit. That's why I'd say like while you're testing it, do it more manual to begin with. If you're first time and you really want to film like in a club or something, take your camera, set it to IA while you're still getting used to the settings. Otherwise you're going to have some like really dark or really bright footage that looks like shit. If there's children watching, I sometimes swear. So yeah, camera mode, I think that's it. Just for basic, the very beginner settings for your camera. Like you can turn a grid on, so it's like you can do your rule of thirds, and you can do all kinds of like settings for framing. You can do peaking, like where it shows the zebra lines when it's too bright, and what's in focus. There's all these settings are in that camera. But day one, week one, when you're first using it, switch it to autopilot. So like just to get used to the camera, and then flick it off, turn it to manual modes, and see how that's going for you. Hopefully it made sense. Hopefully I helped somebody out. Seth, if you have any questions, you're my cousin, I will answer them. Yeah, so hopefully all that made sense. Thanks for watching. Luke from Luke Learns. I want to try to put a better tutorial together. This was kind of a spur of the moment one, where I'll go more in depth of all the settings for camera usage in situations like vlogging or whatever. So thanks for watching. Luke out. Luke deuces. Catch you guys on the flip side.